Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Punjab Pulse Interaction. With me today is senior journalist and thought leader, Mr. Onkareshwar Pandey. Mr. Pandey has over 30 years of experience in journalism. His topics of research and reporting have been national security, international affairs. He has worked with several prestigious news agencies like ANI. Currently, he is editor in chief of online news portal Indian Observer Post. So, uh, welcome aboard, Mr. Pandey.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Today, we would be talking about fake news and its social and political impact. So, to start with, why don't you just, let our viewers know what fake news is and how is it categorized?
Yeah, that's a very important question today. When we talk about the fake news, first of all, we talk about the digital media. So, because the fake news is by and large is spread through the social media, digital media. So, let me first of all tell you that digital media has power to empower the and power to disempower too. This digital driven social media has largely empowered the people across the globe through all kinds of faster information and also invading our privacy by stealing all individual data through artificial intelligence and machine learning and so on. But the major concern today is that it's threatening the national unity, national security, brotherhood, and democracy at large through misinformation and disinformation campaigns. It is a record that never in the history of human society more information was available to people on the earth, which is available today. Each day, around 2.5 quintillion bytes of data are created at our current pace, which is accelerating the growth of the Internet of Things today. Over the last 2 years alone, 90% of the data in the world was generated. However, unfortunately, it's also true that never in the history has more than such a bad information been available to more people, which is available today now. And once anything is online, it is news forever. So the fake news is a major concern today for the whole of the society, whole of the nation, and the world, I will say. In this era of fake news and paid news, is this artificial intelligence is also more and more used as a political tool to manipulate and dictate common people through big data, biometric data, and analysis of online profiles and behaviors in social media with the smartphones. But the days are not far when AI will also control the politicians and the media too. So I will give a background of how this fake news was started. If you see in our history, in during the Mahabharat era, you must have heard the news about the Ashwathama Hato Narova Kunjuro, when Yudhishthir was thinking through Krishna's proposition and its implication. Bhima, one of the Pandavas' brothers, kills an elephant named Ashwathama and screams, Ashwathama is dead, Ashwathama Hato, Ashwathama is dead. Technically, Yudhishthir did not lie. But what did he said? Ashwathama Hato Narova Kunjuro. I don't know whether it's a animal or it's a human. So, but this news went to the opposition camp, and Dronacharya does not catch the words. He lays down his weapons and bows his head in grief, and then he was killed. So that's the history of the kind of fake news in our society, which we can see today. It has become very serious issue, not only in India but all over the world, and it's affecting our society, social fabrics, law and order, politics, and the whole nation as a whole. So if I categorize the what is the fake news, So first of all, I would like to tell you that even the WHO and the United Nations, such UNESCO, such organization have also expressed their concern about the fake news, especially during this pandemic area, and they have termed it as an infodemic. So they said the infodemic is portmanteau of information and epidemic that typically refers to a, a special kind of far-reaching spread of both accurate and inaccurate information about something, such as a disease. As facts, rumors, and fears mix and disperse, it becomes difficult to learn essential information about an issue. Infodemic was certainly used in 2003 also in connection with the SARS, and has been renewed uses in the time of COVID-19 pandemic. United Nations and the World Health Organization, as I told you, began using this term infodemic during COVID-19 pandemic as early as March 31st, 2020, last year. The related term disinformidemic has been used by the UNESCO. Now I'll tell you what are the kinds of information and counterfeits. So information, what is information? Communication or reception of knowledge or intelligence is called information. Any kind of information, which whether it is informing us, whether it is enlightening us, whether it is useful or not useful, it's a new piece of information. And what is propaganda? The systematic spreading of information in order to instill a particular attitude or response. When you are doing it systematically, even when you are spreading the information systematically with a particular, instilling attitude or response, then it's called propaganda. But what is misinformation? The misinformation is basically the incorrect information, which is not necessarily deliberate. Maybe you are not deliberately spreading that, but some misinformation is coming and I'm forwarding that. So that is called the spread of misinformation. There is another word which is called disinformation. So disseminating deliberately false information. I know that this information is false, but I'm disseminating because my intention is to spread it. Why? Because I'm influenced by some policies or public opinion or some ideology, and I believe in that ideology. So I'm disseminating that deliberately. That is called disinformation campaign. So these are the basically categorization of the information, misinformation, disinformation today.
So, half information or misinformation or disinformation all would be categorized into fake news.
Yeah.
So, what according to you, what does this fake news? What are the impacts of this fake news on our politics and society or the social strata?
Yeah, there is a very large impact on the society and on the whole of the universe, I can say, the humanity. Because why the impact? To first of all, to understand the impact, you will have to understand what is the reach. So over 3.7 billion humans are using the internet today. We conduct more than half of our web searches from a mobile phone now, and on an average worldwide there are 5 billion searches in a day. So if I'm in a day searching 5 billion times, or 5 billion people are searching, so imagine if there is a misinformation, or if there is a disinformation, what will be the impact? So Google now processes more than 40,000 searches every second. Every second, 40,000 searches on the Google. So 3.5 billion searches per day. The data of searches on other search engines are not included in this. I'm talking about only the Google. There are Yandex, there are Rediff Mail, there are Bing, so many other search engines are available there. So this is the kind of impact you can imagine if there is any wrong information on the Google, if there is any wrong information on any search engine, and if people are searching, so that can reach to that number of people. So that is basically the dangerous thing which is affecting the society and the nation today. In the past, you must have heard about several incidents of some, beating of innocent people and killing them in the pretext of whether they are kind of child lifters or something else. So those kinds of impact we can see in the political field also. You can see that there is a systematic spread, there is a deliberate spread of certain kind of ideology, certain kind of information or misinformation. And that is found not only during the COVID. You can see with the farmers issue, whether it's a CAA agitation or maybe any issue, you will find several section of the people are using the misinformation, disinformation. So that's creating unrest, that's creating mistrust, that's creating confusion among the society. So we have to look into that.
So with 3.7 billion internet users, it's almost half the population of the world,
Yes.
and it is primarily said that the fake news stories are usually propagated through websites and social media. However, research indicates that people hear about fake news stories not only from these websites but also from mainstream media like TV channels. Why would
Yes,
TV
that's true.
channels
That's
broadcast such stories?
I would like to quote a report by the Alt News, which is working very sincerely and very hard in debunking the misinformation trends in our country and debunking the fake news also. So, in fact, I was also part of the Google training against the fake news. I'm a Google trained trainer for the debunking the fake news. So the Alt News report of 2020 last year said that in the year 2020 itself, there were several kinds of misinformation surrounding CA protest, Delhi riots, and violence at Jamia and JNU, coronavirus, and the vilification of the one community, displacement of migrant workers or due to COVID-19 lockdown, medical disinformation shared in the wake of COVID-19, and misinformation also related to Indo-China dispute. So the false news surrounding all these issues, whether it's a farmers issue, the protest and several other issues, that is still continuing despite Government of India's serious effort to curb it. Every individual should be alert, in my view, and use his brain before sharing any such news. Because in this
But
era of fake news, yeah,
uh, uh, TV channels or news channels are supposed to be verifying the news. Why? What is their compulsion to
at at
broadcast
at
such
some level, at some
news?
level, they are trying to, in fact, make themselves impartial. And some of the television channels have also started debunking the fake news. You will be seeing in the some of the national channels that they will be showing some clips and they will be showing their report whether this is a fake news or not. But indirectly sometimes they are also becoming, in fact, a kind of tool in informing and disinforming some informations which we have seen. So in fact, this is the responsibility of the national channels, television channels, or whatsoever any mainstream media, to be very very careful about that. Maybe they are not doing it intentionally, but without intention also, without deliberation also, if you are doing it, you are creating confusion in the society.
So, social media companies or social media outlets are supposed to be the main propagators of the fake news stories. Social media outlets like Facebook and Twitter
Hmm.
are usually blamed for spreading or making fake news stories viral. So, but when you ask them, they say they are regulating these stories. Do you think they are doing a good job, or are they actually regulating these stories or not?
There is a lot of confusion about that because everybody is talking about, there are two issues. One is about the freedom of speech, the freedom of expressing themselves on through the social media, the privacy, there is a right of privacy which everybody wants, and there should be the right of privacy. I'm also in the favor of. But there are other aspects where the same medium is being used for the spreading of the fake news or the misinformation campaign. So government of India had asked particularly to the certain social media outlets like WhatsApp to provide them who initiated the first item. Suppose something is there, some image is there which is a fake, or some text item is there which is fake, some video item is there which is fake. So who first of all initiated that and it became the viral? Because after becoming viral you cannot find out the source where it was generated. So the government of India wanted that they should ensure that they would be able to tell us who was the first person who disseminated or who created this, so that they can catch hold of that particular person. But on the other hand, the WhatsApp has been saying if I will give you this information, so I'll have to create entire messaging non-encrypted, which will become kind of problem for everybody who is using the WhatsApp, because WhatsApp being used for the personal information messaging, chatting, etc. So nobody would like that every information is not encrypted, and that can be seen by any agency, any government agency or whosoever. So that's a major hurdle between the government and the social media, which is not being sorted out right now. But ultimately, there has to be a process. There has to be a limitation. We will all have to become responsible, more responsible, because the governments, whosoever is in the government, whichever the government comes, government would always like to spook into the intervene into your this thing. So in the name of misinformation and disinformation, kind of regulation or kind of restriction, that I would not like to welcome, and nobody should welcome that. Because then if your privacy, if your freedom has gone, then everything has gone.
So that was actually what I was coming to, that whenever the government questions these media outlets, their
Yeah.
first argument is that this compromises the freedom of speech and expression of their users. So do
Yeah.
you think these companies are actually hiding behind this argument, uh, and they
It's not the question of these companies are hiding behind. If you will have to analyze the data worldwide, what is there in the overall world, how it is being done, how the other countries are dealing with, because every country is facing the similar situation. It was in America, it was in all big countries, everywhere. If you remember the last the presidential election in America, it was largely being used every day. Through the Twitter, through the social media, and through the mainstream media, the fight between the misinformation, disinformation, and the mainstream news, that is in fact affecting the credibility also of the mainstream media. So we have to sort it out, but how it will be sorted out, that you never know. In the name of controlling this, if you create very hard restriction, so it will also regulate the mainstream media also, and then it will be indirectly regulating your freedom of speech. So that's a very difficult situation.
but that is true actually. I think we would both the companies as well as the government and as well as the users would have to come to
So I'll go by the Supreme Court, which has recently said that you cannot control or regulate the freedom of speech, which is given to the people. So one should not, in the Constitution, we have got the freedom of expression, for anybody and everybody. If we lose it, in India, we don't have freedom of media. We have just a freedom of expression, and on that pretext only we are using the freedom of media. So if that is taken over, then it will be a completely entire different situation, that nobody likes that.
I
So
absolutely agree with you, Mr. Pandey.
yeah.
I think all freedoms, whether of speech or expression or others, come with responsibilities. I think these freedoms should be exercised with responsibility so that we do not harm national security or communal harmony within our country. Thank you so much for your valuable time, Mr. Pandey. It was great talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and enlightening us on what fake news is and how what its impact is on social and political scenario.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Punjab Pulse and Mr. Paramjeet ji. It was really nice talking to you. At the last, I would like to say that before spreading or before forwarding any news, we should be careful and we should read what is the source behind, what is the accuracy of that particular news. And there is a very simple formula. If you just take out the headline of that particular news and put it on the Google, you will find n number of the stories which will be either supporting that story, whether it's correct or incorrect, and you will find the truth behind that. So we have to be little careful so that we can stop the menace of this fake news, and we can create a good society which will provide us freedom of expression and freedom of speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.